Welcome to Take Another Look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo with a genuine conversation about what's missing from the human connection. Let's join Melanie and Gerda now.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Take Another Look podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Taddeo Malo. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host,
Gerda Felix.
Gerda, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful today, Melanie. And how are you?
I am great. To those who are visiting us for the very first time, Take Another Look podcast is an opportunity for Gerda and I to have some uncomfortable conversations, but it's also a place where we see you fully. So join the conversation with us, like and subscribe, follow us, and let us know your thoughts throughout the episode, after, whatever. But Gerda, today we're going to be talking about something that's been really eating at me. I don't know if it's just the last couple of months that I've noticed this, but I don't know about you, but when I was raised, I was taught to always be my word. If I said I was going to do something or be somewhere, I was there. And that's always been my way. Lately, I've noticed so many people going back on their word. What are your thoughts on this?
You said months?
Recently, I'm just really observing it more so this couple months.
Okay. Okay, because for me it's been years.
Okay.
It's been years. And it's something that I have every time I think about it, it is causing a trigger, an issue. I don't know exactly how to call it, but it is very strong because it goes against my values. Yes, there are many words, but this one, to people not being able to be their word. When you say you are going to do something, you cannot do it. When you commit to being part of something and then you don't do it, I have a problem with it.
You know what? It's amazing how easy people say, yes, yes, yes. And then all of a sudden when it comes time to doing, where are they? Nowhere to be found.
Yeah. And I think when that happens, it's because those people, they do not know themselves.
You know, it's interesting. Do you think that people feel pressured to say yes to things?
Perhaps some would feel pressured to say yes, but I think some say yes because of FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Yes, yes. They want to be part of the excitement.
Everything. So we're saying, yes, you want to go this place? Yes. You want to be part of this? Yes. And without even thinking of what is that requiring from me when I say yes to you? They don't think about it that way.
You know, it's true. It's almost as if we need to have a disclaimer. If you say yes, this is what you're signing up for. You will do your part. You will come to meetings. You will be there when I need you.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And I think, and that I'm not really sure why, but I think it's becoming something that is most people are doing.
You know, I notice, especially over, I guess, because we're virtual, right?
Mhm.
So we're all connecting across the world. There's different challenges, of course, time zones, you know, people's surroundings, you know, when is it quiet place to have a meeting, a discussion, a conversation? Those all play a fact, but you know what the limitations are when you say yes. Move your schedule around, find a quieter place. There are ways that we can be fully present when we give our word.
Yes, yes. And the thing is to be your word.
Mm-hmm.
Be. Don't give it to me, be it. Okay, because if you are being your word, then you know it takes a little bit more than just saying yes. you know, because it's a commitment.
Mm.
And when you don't know that, then you just say yes. And then something else comes along that's more appealing. Well, you forgot about me that you said yes to, you just, move along.
I also, and again, this is just an observation. I'm not sure, like I have sisters that are younger than me. The different generations, word is something different to them than it is to us. Do you notice that?
Well, I don't know. I don't. Yes, I would say yes and no, because I've met many people from the younger generation that when they said yes, they followed up.
Yeah, and I shouldn't lump everyone in the same category. That's wrong. But what I've noticed, and I guess I should have been clear. So, for example, if they say, yes, I'm going to do something, they'll show up, but they'll do what they think is the bare minimum.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the difference. So, yeah, they're their word by showing up, but maybe not, we're not all on the same page. And that's why I'm saying that disclaimer or job description, perhaps, of everything needs to be clear.
I think it's probably because we have come to a point where there's a lot of sayings that are being shared. Okay, so meaning you hear something, for example, I'm just trying to remember an example. Okay, if it's got to be, it has to be me. Or if it's good. Okay, let's just say this example because that's what comes to my mind. I think because we've been saying so many different things, we do not understand that there are different levels to the sayings that we are sharing with everybody. For example, I've heard another saying, instead of saying I'm sorry, say thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, like for example, instead of saying I'm sorry for being late, say thank you for being patient. Okay. So if you're saying it this way, it's like, oh, okay, but you should still be sorry for being late. But I have read this and I'm like, okay. But some people take it to the extreme and they will say, well, this is what I've read. I've read instead of saying sorry for being late, I can just come and say thank you for being patient.
And it's okay to be late? Yeah, no.
No, but that's my point. My point is it okay to say thank you for being patient? Yes, because that means that this person was really patient. Because me, if you are, I'm supposed to meet you and I'm patient for like 10 to 15 minutes max. So either way, yes, but you still need to tell me that you're sorry because you are late.
Yeah, because listen, if you're running late, it takes 2 seconds to send a text message,
right?
Call, say, I'm running late, I'll be right there, this happened, whatever, because I can tell you accessible transportation, I'm always late, but it's not in my control.
Yeah.
But if I let you know, then that's going to be,
yes.
Okay. At least you,
yeah. So I feel that the sayings, and we are a society that we have a lot of sayings. We have a lot of sayings. And I feel like it's only one-sided. We don't take the time to understand, okay, I'm understanding it from that perspective, but there are other perspectives from the same saying that I am sharing all over the place.
Yes.
So that's why I try not to even say different sayings anymore, because I feel like if not, it's only one way. People take it one way and then they just run with it, which is not good.
Yes, that's very true. Now, Gerda, can you share a time that you were your word, and how did that impact those around you?
Well, I believe that I'm my word most of the time. So for me, this is another value to be my word, But so it impacts people around me in the sense that they know when I say that I am going to do something, I do it. They are not pressured. They don't feel the pressure of thinking, will Gerda show up or maybe she won't show up? No, they know because I've said, I've said, yes, I will show up. Now, I will say it the other way as well. I could say yes and still show up, but when I start seeing that I am developing another pattern, meaning not show up joyfully as I used to be before, I know that it's time for me to leave.
Aha.
Because I will show up because that's part of who I am.
Great.
But will I show up as much joy as I used to, as when I started? If that is different, then I know that it is time for me to start to reevaluate until I make a decision.
So then at what price are you putting, so I think it's so important to be your word, no matter what, and showing up and doing what you say you're going to do. But at what cost to ourselves when you get into those situations that you're just keeping your word because when do we have to learn to say no then, I guess is the question, right?
Well, in my case, because my body talks to me when I am at a place and I stay too long, because as you know, I have difficulty letting go. As I'm continuing to be my word, I know my body talks to me. That is the extreme, because it's not a good thing to let it go that far. So that's why I have to develop a way where I can really be present and understand, is it something that I'm doing because I really like it? Or is it something that I am doing because I am bound by my word?
You know, it's so important for us to see that fine line, right? But it is also just as important. Because when people say yes and they don't keep their word, it impacts people as well. Not only, does it impact the fact, like you said, when you say yes and you're there, people are thankful and they appreciate it. But if people don't show up, you're leaving people in the lurch. But not only that, it also affects people inside, not necessarily because now all of a sudden the workload is heavier, but it makes people feel away. Have you had a situation like that where somebody's let you down by not keeping their word?
Well, too many times to count, but I'll give an example when about other people that I've seen. So you see, when, for example, fathers, and I say fathers because I've seen many of that, they promise to their children that they will come by. I will come by and see you, my princess, tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, I will come by. Or I will come by and see you, buddy, on Sunday at around that time. And then the little boy or little girl is sitting on the porch, waiting and waiting and waiting. And this has created an emotional, I would say, abscess in the life of this little boy and girl. And what it does later on in life is that every time they come to experience the same thing with someone else, they get reminded of that initial letdown. So this is how much it affects.
And I don't think people realize the power their word has as a parent, especially, and it's the same thing. If a parent says, if you don't do this, I'm going to do this. But if they do that and you don't do this, how powerful is your word? So again, it's not just necessarily about keeping your word to help people, but in being a parent, in being a friend, a sister, a brother, whatever it is, a wife, a partner. If you don't keep your word, that person will emotionally be hurt, and it impacts the relationship as well as it also puts doubt in people's minds.
And it's a sign of respect. Because,
Yes.
it's not only respect of the other person, it's also respect of yourself.
Yes.
Because, I always say that, and most people don't know that, but I always say that you teach me by the way you teach me what I can do with you. Yeah. So for example, if one day we're supposed to meet and you said, okay, I'll meet you at 3, and you don't show up at 3, and I stay until 3:15 if I don't hear from you. And then so you do this, okay. And then after you come up with an excuse, because usually that's what happened after, they show up with an excuse. And then I give you another chance. And again, the same thing. Well, you have just showed me how I can be with you.
Yes.
So then with you, I don't feel so much that I have to be my word, because obviously you do not understand that language. So that's what respect is all about. It's not only for the other person, it's also for you.
It's so true. And it's interesting, as a teacher, you have to lead by example. You need to be your word. You need to say, if you're going to do this, or we're going to be doing this in class or whatever, it sounds so small, but if you don't follow through, they lose respect for you. She doesn't care. All these things start to come to play. But at the same time, if I am counting on my students to be their word and hand their assignments in on time, or get those assignments to me, I also too now all of a sudden say, well, why should I have to do what I'm saying if you're not doing yours? So you're right. It's a give and take, and teaching for all of us. So powerful.
Yeah, because, you teach people, and this is, we say that all the time, and we always think that it's only one side, but it's not only one side. We teach people how to treat us.
That's right.
Whether in the doing or the not doing. Yes.
So what are ways that we can work on keeping our word, Gerda?
Well, before you say it, you can say, I'll get back to you. You can say, I will pray on that. You can say, let me check with my husband or wife and I will come back to you. Or I will check my calendar before I commit. You can say that before saying yes. And I know for some people that are like me in some ways, their default answer is no. And then they will come back and they will say, oh, okay, I've changed my mind. Do you still need me?
And you know what? It's okay to ask what is involved. What exactly does you like me to help you with? Those questions are okay if you're not knowledgeable, or you're not understanding it fully, because you don't want to commit to something you can't fulfill. So definitely asking those questions. But I like that, Gerda. That's good. Let me get back.
I like that too, Melanie. What is involved? Because, if there's one thing for me, I don't ask enough questions. And then so I'm like, yes. And then after that, I'll figure it out.
I always remember.
That was good. I like that.
I always remember the very first time you said yes to helping me with that Resonance of Stars. And you come like, what is this about? Like, I love the fact she said yes, but she has no idea what she said yes to.
No, I'll figure it out. And that's who I am, like a lot of times, which is, that's why I so love what you just said, because it is something that I really do need to learn, to ask more questions, because I say yes first. I have a tendency to say yes because I know I'll figure it out. That's what it is for me.
Yes.
But it is important to ask the question you just said. What is it? What is it about? What does it entail? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? What are you expecting of me? Yes, it's important that we ask those questions.
The other side of this, Gerda, is when people see that you say yes and you follow through on your word, people can take advantage of that.
Yes.
So how do we prevent that?
That's too funny, because there are some people that I know when you ask them whatever, they always said, I need to talk to my wife about this. And I used to think that they said that just to use the wife as a shield. I was like, oh, okay, here you go, using your wife. That's what I used to think. But, for me, perhaps I need to learn to do the same, because we need to set proper boundaries, and that's in every part of our lives. And the reason that it is important, it's because when we set proper boundaries, we know exactly where we stop and where the other person begins.
Yes.
And that's what it is.
Because there are always going to be people or groups of people that see, oh, Gerda always does great things and she's always here, she's always present, she always steps up. So we're just going to assume Gerda will do it.
Yes. She always says yes. Just go to Gerda, she'll say yes.
But we'll just write her name down anyway, because she'll say yeah.
And then when I say no, it's a big issue.
What's wrong with her?
Yes. So that's why it's important. It's important. And my mom used to say that it's interesting that that comes up now. But I remember my mom said to us, if you are in a relationship and you always say yes, one day say no.
Mhm.
And the reason is that will teach you something about that person. The way they take your no, the way they react when they hear no, that will teach you something about that person.
And it's important to see that side of
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah. So this year, for the rest of the year, I'll say no.
No, wait, Jose. No. Wait a minute. Okay, not to me, though, right, Gerda?
No, we have commitments. You and I, we are committed to do certain things. So it's good. It's good. We're cool.
Okay, then we're good. But then, it's interesting because I think it's important to have this conversation because so many people are being taken advantage of. So many people are not being their word and assuming or just that handout. Come on, you can give it to me. Come on. Yes, you'll do it for me. And nothing changes for the good then if we don't have these conversations. So if we have somebody in our life that is not keeping their word, how can we best approach it, Gerda?
Well, I think with everything, we need to bring whatever that is to the person's attention. Because sometimes we do things unconsciously because that's our pattern. You know, if I have a pattern to, okay, well, when I go to party, I always come 15 minutes late. I have an hour late. Well, that's my pattern. And it's okay. But if I'm coming to meet with you one-on-one and I am late, well, it's different. But because of my pattern of when I socialize, I am late, I don't go on time, and I continue doing it to you and you don't say anything to me, I think it's important. That's where we have to learn to bring that up with that person.
And again, it's going back to those uncomfortable conversations, not saying you do this and you do that, making them the wrong person wrong, but perhaps talking about from, when you come late, I feel, that sort of stuff, right?
Well, yes, and perhaps not let it fester for like 3 months before I finally say something, because at that point, I'm not going to say, I feel, no, it's like, you're always late.
Yeah, that's like, true too.
It's been 3 months.
Yes.
So when something comes up, please address it, and address it as in, I don't know if you've noticed, but so far, it's been 2 times or it's been 3 times that every time that we were supposed to meet, you usually are 10, 15 minutes late. What's up with that?
Exactly. And it's on the table because that's the only way it's going to be addressed.
Yes.
And maybe they don't realize that they need to do something different. I know for some people that I've worked with, I have to set alarms for myself. I am always 15 minutes early. And that's just because my alarm goes off and I want to be ready. And when it comes to technology and Melanie, oh my gosh, so I'm always early. And that drives people crazy. No, just because I'm early doesn't mean you have to be early. But I'm there. And again, it's the same thing for somebody that maybe they don't realize that they're late. Perhaps they need to, this needs to be brought to their attention. And again, like you mentioned, that pattern. And maybe they need to learn how to undo that pattern and understand the reason why they have that pattern.
Yes, because certain things will be okay in a certain setting, and certain things will not be okay in another setting.
Definitely.
If I know in my community I'm going to a party and they tell me that the party start at 10 o'clock, in my community, I will not show up at 10 o'clock, nor will I show up at 10:30.
Really?
No,
What
I'll
time
go
do
at
you get up?
midnight.
Are you for real?
No. I mean, usually I'm one of the first ones to arrive at a party in my community.
My goodness.
Okay, so, but that's okay there. Because like if they say party and they invite you at 9, I would suggest do not go at 9 o'clock. But usually I would go for, I don't know, 10:30, 11, and I'm still one of the first ones to be there.
Oh, Garrett,
Because most people will show up after. But I know if I go in the Canadian community,
I was gonna say, if I have a party, please come on time.
and there's a party and they tell you 9, everybody's expecting you to be there at 8:45, and which I won't do, because for me, it's like, I'll show up fashionably late.
Yeah.
I will come at 9:15 or 9:30, but you won't see me at 9 o'clock.
No.
And definitely not at 8:45, because I'm not there to help you do whatever you're doing.
That's
Again,
true. That's true. Yes.
different contests.
So making sure that our word is something that's so important. And again, practice makes perfect. Take the time, ask questions, find out what it is that's involved before you say yes. Because if you aren't comfortable with the situation, you're more likely to go back on your word. But also have realistic expectations of yourself and of others. If you know what you're asking for is hard for anybody, and you're not willing to do it, don't expect people to jump all over the opportunity. Would you agree, Gerda?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've had so many situations where people are like, oh, well, I can do it, you can do it. No,
yeah,
not always a situation.
Yeah. And again, to me, it's, communication, respect, and not wherever you are, do not come as I am going to tell you, because telling people is not connecting.
That's right. Share.
Giving them a list and telling them what they have to do is not connecting. You need to figure out how we can all work together. So that's why I say that we have to be curious, and we have to be respectful.
Absolutely. And this also goes hand in hand at work as well, because you obviously want to have a team that collaborates well together, connects together, works well together, but can count on one another. Because if that one piece is gone and you let them down, the whole team feels it. It's not just that person. So again, in so many environments, being our word is so important.
And if it's somebody that used to keep their words, and you suddenly see that, they are doing different things, then there is an issue. Perhaps that requires a conversation, a more caring conversation.
Very good point, because again, we don't know what's happening in their lives. We don't know, somebody that we always could count on all of a sudden has something happening at home and their life schedule has changed. They may not be as free with their time. But again, don't make judgment without having that conversation, and definitely a caring conversation.
Absolutely.
Well, Gerda, I know that I can always count on you for keeping your word, always, and I appreciate that from you. I too will try always to be my word, because that's the way I was raised. But if by chance you notice a pattern and I'm not keeping my word, call me on it, okay?
I think we are very open with each other, Melody, in that sense. And that's probably why we work very well together, because first of all, I know for me, it's never been, if you don't keep your word, if you wouldn't keep your word, in my mind, it would be because something has happened. And I would start to worry, because we've been working since September of 2020, correct?
Yes.
So, and you've always been your word. So for me, it's not an issue. So whenever, if ever that were to happen, I would know, something is happening.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And again, everyone out there, think about the people around you. Do they keep their word? Are they their word? And are you your word? Because here's the thing. You track what you put out. And if you're okay with not being your word, the people around you probably are the same way. So reflection.
And no, I was going to say something, one little thing.
Yes.
And this is something that we don't talk about very often. Okay.
Mhm.
The way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Oh,
And if you have problem with, for example, not being on time in itself, I would ask you to pay attention to how this idea of time is playing out in your life. What do I mean by that? If you are used to be late in everything that you do, that's a time restriction. That's just the time for you is an issue. Perhaps if you are giving a service, people might not come late, but they will always come early. So now it's the contrary of what you do to other people.
yes.
The way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
It's very true and powerful. Thank you, Gerda. Can you believe we're wrapping up for another episode, Gerda? Time flies when we have this conversation.
Yes.
To our audience, thanks for joining us. Please subscribe to our channel, like and share. Catch us on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts. And of course, don't forget to check out our blog and our website, takeanotherlookpodcast.com. Gerda, how can people reach out to us?
Contact at Take Another Look podcast.com.
You got it. Absolutely. And we want to hear from you. Let us know if there's topics you want to hear us talk about. Perhaps you'd like to be a guest on our upcoming program. And we're always looking for people to contribute to our blog. So if you have some thoughts after an episode, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time.
Until next time. Bye for now.